show them where the ideas are before you. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So you can sort of navigate the site, show them how it works, and then in the next level, sorry, the next lesson even, they can look at the vocabulary that they found, and then once they know the website, then you can use it throughout the course. You can give them different activities from it. So you've got the task, you followed up the task, you know that they can use the website, and you just give them different activities from the same site. And that's my case studies.
Okay, so Dan's case study was basically using websites to promote learner autonomy in young learners, yeah? Okay. I'm sure some of you have got some really good ideas as well of how you've incorporated websites into both young learners and adult classes. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been doing in terms of tasks and task design and how important that is in terms of stimulating learner autonomy. So I do think it's really important. I think tasks are essential, and I think once you've got a motivating task, we discussed how important motivation was. As soon as you've got that motivation, students, that's the battle's almost over, and then that if the task is motivating, they will basically use their own time in order to complete the task. Okay. Some of you are already aware of. I mean, I've done lots and lots of tasks. Some of you are already aware of some of them. This one I presented with the task-based learning group. So I do think it highlights some key things that we need to think about with learner autonomy. Okay. I don't know if you guys have taught. Upper Intermediate 3. You taught Upper Intermediate 3? Yeah. I was teaching this about a year ago, and basically I had a class that really weren't gelling, and I found that classes were really quite difficult. They weren't really communicating with each other. They seemed a bit flat. So what I did, we were using the book, and I thought, well, I need a new approach. I need to kind of. They weren't motivated, basically, so I needed to find ways of motivating them. I don't know if you know if in the book there is a section on, one of the tasks is about designing a soap opera. Do you know that one? Yeah, well there's a language, kind of semi-weird language focus about gerunds and infinitives that I didn't really see the correlation between that and the task. So basically the task was, they had to design their own soap opera. Yeah, that was the task. And first of all, I gave them one of these. Have a look at this. It's like I did a little web quest. And what I did first was, the web quest was look at Wikipedia, so I supplied them the website. And I asked them to define what soap opera was and the main characteristics of a soap opera. And they got all that from the website. And then for the second task, I divided them into 3 groups. It's like a jigsaw web quest. So one group researched soap operas in the UK, one in the US, and one in Australia. Okay, and I gave them some questions to guide their reading. Okay, and then in the following class, I got them to work together it was like a jigsaw information exchange, and they basically came up with the idea of what is a soap opera, what are the conventions of soap operas. Okay. Then we looked at Colombian soap operas, and also, you know, the conventions of English, well, British soap operas, American soap operas, Australian and Colombian. And we did a little mind map. So here we had a little mind map of what they had to do. Common events. What kind of common events happen in soap operas? Deaths. Murders. Adultery. Yeah, and you'll find there are certain similarities between all the soap operas. Some distinctions. Common characters. What kind of characters do we have?
Coffee shop owner.
Well,
Minicab company.
Yeah. Basically, with the Colombian, it was quite good because we were kind of built on Colombian stereotypes here. You know, like you have your mafiosos, your what do they call them, muñecas,
Busty woman.
the busty woman, but so on. So we built up a little mind map, and I set the task. And the task was to design their own soap opera. Also, I said to them at the end of the course, what they had to do was film the soap opera, and present it to the other groups. Yeah, and when I meant the other groups, I said the other groups in the British Council. So not only the people in the group, all the other intermediate groups were going to come along and watch it. What I did, I got them into groups, and every week we started building up these conventions. You know, who were the characters, what was the situation, what was going on. And the first couple of lessons there was a lot of teacher input. But then after that, the rest of the course, I gave 15 minutes of every lesson and they just got on with it. Yeah? Without any teacher input, obviously I fed in a bit of language. And what happened was, it was quite remarkable what happened, because the more they got into it, the more they started gelling as a group. And I remember like the first couple of lessons, it was really dry, the atmosphere was awful. But then by the end of it, they were exchanging addresses, Skype addresses. We were meeting outside of the class to get this stuff together. And the stuff they produced, for me, when we actually got together, I called in some students from the upper intermediate. I'll show you a little clip of what they produced. And for me, it was quite interesting just to see how motivated they were to produce something like this.
How did they film it? With the
basically, I gave them the option. I said you could either film it in the British Council or you could film it at home. And they were so into it, they wanted to do it at home. So they spent a weekend doing this.
Wow.
Right. I've got the script if anyone wants to read through the script. One of the things I did do is that during the lessons, all the grammar that we encountered, I fed into the script, all the vocabulary. I tried to see how they noticed where they could fit it into the script. So there was quite a lot of language development going on as well. But where is it? Under training. Who's it? Training. Where is it? Where's the fame one? Can you see it? Is that it?
Or is Tom stuff session too?
Ah, yeah, that's it.
Well done, then.
Well done. Oh, yeah. This is one of the things they produced.
After several years of marriage, she becomes pregnant and her doctor informs them that they'll have a daughter. Rachel has to travel to Japan for business, and Alice, his best friend, has to look after Helen. However, Rachel's former girlfriend, Samantha, secretly still loves him and hates Helen deeply. When she realizes that Helen is pregnant, she becomes hysterical, paranoid, and attempts to destroy Helen's dreams.
Oh my dear, I miss Rachel so much. She has worked so hard, and I feel really bad without her.
Don't worry, you'll be called back soon. No? Actually, have to last for you and your baby.
I don't know. Recently, after eating, I don't feel really bad. Really good.
It's your imagination. I cook for you all the time.
Every day, Helen is visited by his apparent friend Alice to attempt to take the food to her room. Food that is killing her with poison supplied by Samantha.
Okay, it goes on like this, and they've got this to quite honestly.
Do you remember?
That's not bad.
But basically, at the end of the course, they produced that.
There's a boy.
It was, and the difference was incredible. I mean, the amount of work they put in outside the class, and the way that the class gelled and started kind of working together was you know, for me it was a really good experience.
Okay, so as some of you know, we've been using this Moodle for about 4, possibly 5 terms now, and developing things to help learners study outside the class and study independently. And although we can look at the Moodle as a separate tool, it actually picks up on a lot of these different things. For example, like Dan was saying about using websites to promote learners going and using them, so expose them to the website and then hopefully they'll use them if they're on back. So there's a lot of links to websites, there's little mini videos. Some of the tasks are using websites that they could then go away and use on their own. Similarly, some of the tasks, some of the collaborative tasks, it could be things like going away and surveying their classmates by sending messages or contacting each other or going in the chat room and then reporting back. It could be finding out information about each other ready for a class. So we've used the Moodle to support the autonomy outside of class, doing things outside of class. And as Tom did, to improve that working relationship so that they get more out of the classes themselves. Similarly, in terms of learning plans, we've used it for those kind of things as well. So one of the things that I wanted to mention was things like vocabulary, learner strategies. We've got, teachers do a lot of work on teaching students how to record vocabulary. But how many of your students actually carry on doing it? Not very many. And it's because it doesn't get followed up. And also, what do they do with the vocabulary they've recorded? So we're very good at telling them to write it down. We're not very good at helping them recycle, reuse, or even to how they can personally memorise things or that kind of thing. And one of the tasks that we've got on the portal, we do stuff in class, we do that first stage. What do I need to know about a word? How can I use it? How can I record it? Where am I going to record it? And then on the portal, we take a second step and we get them to look at, well, what can I do with this material that I've written down? And it takes the idea of a task with some suggested ideas. What do you think about this? Do you do any of them? And they get to post some thoughts into a discussion. Then they get to look at, make some suggestions, some other ideas. And they get to make a commitment. Over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to try out this method. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to trigger them into trying out new things. Because learners, and ourselves included, we quite often, we don't do things because we've never done them. So by getting them to try something new, maybe it's a success, maybe it doesn't work. But at least they're trying these things out. 2 or 3 weeks later, they come back to the discussion forum and they report back, yeah, this really worked, it took this much time and this was the result. So it's all very guided. I'll give you a copy of that. I didn't bring a copy for everybody. Okay, but you can have put one on your table. Okay, so it was 2 aspects really. It was firstly looking at why students don't continue with the learning strategies we teach them and trying to solve those problems. And the second thing was to try and trigger them, give them a way to do it. And this fitted not just with this task, but with a whole focus on vocabulary. In the portal there's a glossary. So every task, they had the opportunity to go and add to a shared glossary, which then pops up every time they go into the portal. And by making them do that, again, it was another way that they could see to support this task, practice what they were doing, share what they were doing. To follow it up, used to print these off and use it like a class vocab bag for different games, whether it be at the beginning of the class, just to recycle as well. So it was not just right, this is vocabulary, you've got to record it, there you go, but now what are you going to do with it? What actually happened was a lot of the students tried out new things, and a lot of them continued using the vocabulary recording through the course and on into next courses. Quite often in the second course, they were telling other students, well, this is what I do now, I've tried this and this is now what I do. Here's my book, I take these cards, whatever their method was. So there was a lot of shared learning and a lot of trying out new things. So that's one way that we've been using the portal to try and promote autonomy. The other way that we've done it is to give them some choice in tasks. So, for example, this particular task, it's a fairly optional task, quite a long task. It's broken down into sections, it's been given some aims. So they can do the main part of the task. But at the end of it, what do they do next? They've recycled a little bit of vocab, they've recycled the topic that we've been doing in class. They've done a little bit of work on it. But some of them, their rubbish is bad. Some of them, their rubbish, their writing is bad. Some of them, yeah, they're speaking like me.
Rubbish is good.
Rubbish.
It's good rubbish.
Some of them feel they're not practicing outside of class, some of them want to do more vocab. They've all got different reasons. So, by using a task like this, right at the bottom, they get to using the knowledge. And this is something we've tried to do similar to the advanced Moodle as well, to try and build in some of this autonomy. So they've done all this stuff, and then they get to the bottom, and it's up to them.